The stage was a maelstrom of light and sound, a brilliant, chaotic universe where 100 cameras spun and 1,000 flashes erupted. Xiao Zhan stood under a single, brilliant spotlight, a figure of serene grace in the eye of the storm. He was on stage to accept an award, a moment of professional triumph, but his heart was a quiet, frantic drum against his ribs. The public had been in a frenzy all night, and the pressure felt immense, a heavy, invisible weight. He had smiled and waved and given all the right answers, but under the spotlight, he felt a profound sense of isolation. Just before the announcer called his name, a microphone was placed in his hand. The crowd's roar was deafening, a wave of noise that threatened to swallow him whole. He looked out at the audience, a sea of a million faces, and for a terrifying second, he felt a profound, heart-stopping loneliness. He was a small, solitary figure in a vast, overwhelming world. Then a whisper. It was not from the audience. It was from the wings, a low, quiet sound that cut through the noise with a stunning clarity. It was a single, simple phrase, spoken in a voice he knew better than his own. The voice of Wang Yibo. He didn't turn his head. He didn't have to. He just felt it, the quiet, powerful presence that was always there, a constant in a world of variables. He heard the whisper, and a single, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. It wasn't a public smile. It was a private, incandescent light that filled his face, a silent, poetic answer to a silent question. The whisper was a reminder, a memory. It was from a time long ago when they were on a quiet set, filming a difficult scene. He had been exhausted, his emotions frayed, and he had forgotten his line. Yibo, who was standing beside him, had leaned in and whispered the line to him, a simple, low, and reassuring sound. In that moment, the world of the film, the chaos of the set, had all fallen away. All that mattered was the quiet support, the simple, powerful presence that was an anchor in his storm. And now, on this grand stage, under this bright, sterile spotlight, the memory was a life raft. The whisper wasn't a line. It was a single, simple phrase, "I'm right here." It was a mind-blowing scene that no one saw, a private truth in a public space. A reporter, a quick, sharp observer, later noted a sudden, beautiful change in Xiao Zhan's expression. "He looked like a man who had just found something he thought he'd lost," she wrote. "He just glowed." The cameras saw a man at the peak of his career. The fans saw an artist. But in that moment, in the spotlight, he just saw a quiet promise, a powerful shield, and the truth that he was never, ever truly alone. His smile became 1,000 things: gratitude, relief, a profound sense of peace. He gave his acceptance speech, and his words, which had been planned to be professional and polite, took on a new, emotional resonance. He spoke not just of his work, but of the people who had supported him, of the quiet courage it took to stand in the spotlight, and of the profound truth that a single, quiet presence could be a universe of support. When he walked off stage, the roar of the crowd was a distant hum. All he could hear was the quiet, poetic echo of a promise he knew would never be broken. The moment Xiao Zhan's face lit up on stage was a fleeting, mind-blowing scene that no one was meant to see. But the internet, an ever-vigilant witness, had caught it all. The cameras had followed his sudden, ethereal smile, and a quick-thinking fan, live-streaming the event, had managed to capture the entire clip, a silent film of a man transforming under a single, brilliant spotlight. The video, titled simply "The Whisper," went viral in a matter of seconds. The media was left scrambling. They couldn't report on a whisper they hadn't heard, but they could report on the effect it had. Headlines were not about who won the award, but about the profound emotion on Xiao Zhan's face. Journalists and commentators, unable to explain the phenomenon, resorted to poetic conjecture, writing about a kind of love so deep it can't be spoken, and a private language between two people that the world can only witness. The online fan communities, however, knew the truth. They pieced together the fragments. A split-second shot of Yibo standing in the wings, a quick glimpse of Xiao Zhan's face before he began to speak. They had been in on the secret all along, and this was their quiet, triumphant vindication. The aftermath was a storm of raw emotion. Fans created art and poetry based on a single whisper, an invisible bond that had become a public, mind-blowing truth. It was a new kind of mind-blowing scene. Not a grand, choreographed public display, but a quiet, tender, and almost imperceptible act of love that had reshaped the entire public perception of their relationship. It showed that their connection was not about flash or performance. It was about the silent, unwavering support that existed in the quiet moments between them. The night of the awards ceremony had ended, but its ripple effects were just beginning. The whisper had done what years of public relations and careful management could not. It had confirmed a truth that was so profound, it had changed the entire conversation. The professional world, which had spent years trying to separate their images, now had to reckon with the mind-blowing reality that their greatest asset was their undeniable bond. The immediate fallout was a whirlwind. Managers and agents, who had been scrambling to control the narrative, were now in a state of controlled shock. Every major media outlet wanted an exclusive interview, not to ask about their careers, but to ask about the whisper. The public's insatiable desire for the truth, once a threat, was now an opportunity. Their managers, for the first time, decided to let them speak. They appeared on a talk show, not to promote a new film or album, but to talk about their lives, their journey, and the meaning of "I'm right here." The interview was a mind-blowing scene in itself. They sat together, not as celebrities being interviewed, but as two people talking about their lives. When the host, a woman known for her gentle but probing questions, asked about the whisper, Iba just smiled, a small, knowing look in his eyes. He didn't repeat the phrase. He didn't need to. He just looked at Xiao Zhan, and a powerful, unspoken conversation passed between them. It was a silent, poetic confirmation that the public could now see and understand. And for Xiao Zhan, the experience was a profound, emotional release. For years, he had lived under the immense pressure of public scrutiny, carrying the weight of his past. But now, in the quiet, public act of being seen and understood, he felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. The glow was not just a fleeting moment. It was a new reality. He was no longer a fortress. He was a man who had found a home, and the world was finally ready to see it.